This is CBSN Dallas-Fort Worth.
Good evening. I'm Jack Fink, political reporter here at CBS 11 and CBSN DFW. The polls have now closed in the runoff special election for the 6th Congressional District seat in North Texas. It became open earlier this year after the passing of Republican Congressman Ron Wright, who tested positive for COVID-19 and had battled cancer. The late Congressman's widow, Susan Wright, and State Representative Jake Ellzey of Waxahachie, both Republicans, are now hoping to complete the term. Results from early voting are now in, and they are showing that Jake Ellzey is leading Susan Wright 53 to 47%. And there's also, this is actually very interesting because Wright's power base has been in Tarrant County. She's been involved in party politics for a long time. And then if you take a look at the breakout in Tarrant County, Ellzey is still beating Wright by some 203 votes or 202 votes. He's leading 51 to 49%. And then in Ellis County, where he's from, he has a big lead, 58% to 42%, almost by 1,000 votes there. And we're still waiting for results in Navarro County. So both Wright and Ellzey emerged from a very crowded special election on Saturday, May 1st. That is when there were 23 candidates that ran, including 11 Republicans and 10 Democrats. And because it was a special election, there was no primary for the Republican and Democratic parties. We know that Ellzey raised a lot more money than Susan Wright, more than $1.7 million. Wright had raised more than $740,000. And so now that's one thing, though, that we are going to be watching is because these are just the early votes, we are now going to see how dramatically different, if at all, the live voting from today was. I looked at the numbers, at least in Tarrant County, and during the early vote, they had about 10,750 people vote early. But today alone, they had more than that, about 10,800 plus voters. So this is still a very, very fluid situation because we saw this back on May 1st. A very close race in the early vote between Ellzey and Wright. And then in the live day voting on May 1st, Wright took off from there and had more votes. So we will wait to see if that happens tonight. Let's take another look at the early votes that we have right now. Again, State Representative Jake Ellzey leading Susan Wright 53 to 47%. And so this is something that we're going to be watching throughout the evening. And the other interesting thing about this was the endorsements that both candidates received. Former President Donald Trump had endorsed Susan Wright and just held last night a tele-town hall for her. Ellzey received support from the longest-serving governor of Texas, Rick Perry, who also served as U.S. Energy Secretary under President Trump. And, you know, one of the interesting things about this is I asked Tarrant County's new Democratic Party chair, Dr. Allison Campolo, about what Democrats might do in this race since both candidates are Republicans. And she told me that she had heard two schools of thought. Either Democrats would vote for Ellzey because he did not get endorsed by former President Trump, or they would go to vote but not select either candidate intentionally undervoting. And so this is one of the things that we're going to be watching throughout the evening. So again, one last look here at the early votes for the 6th Congressional District. Jake Ellzey leading Susan Wright 53 to 47%. We will be back with another update on this race a little later once the numbers from today's live voting come in. Until then, I'm Jack Fink, CBS 11 and CBS DFW. Have a good evening.